JFK Jr. and Diana talked on the phone for hours. Friends said, "John is in love with Diana." Diana said, "JFK's son understands me." In 1997, both of them died. Was there really something between them? Before we explore this fascinating connection between two global icons, please consider subscribing to the Diana Stories and hitting the like button. Your support helps us investigate every aspect of Diana's life. Princess Diana and John F.K. Jr. were two of the most famous, most photographed, most beloved figures of the 1990s. Both were royal in their own ways, Diana through marriage to the British Crown, JFK Jr. through birth into America's most famous political dynasty. Both lived under constant media scrutiny, both struggled with the burden of public expectations, and, according to various sources, both found understanding and connection with each other during the final years of their lives. Two icons, parallel lives. To understand the alleged connection between Diana and JFK Jr., we need to understand their similarities. These weren't just two famous people who happened to cross paths. They were two individuals whose life experiences gave them unique common ground that few others could understand. John F.K. Jr. was born in November 1960, just weeks before his father was elected President of the United States. He was barely 3 years old when his father was assassinated in November 1963. The image of little John saluting his father's coffin became one of the most iconic photographs of the 20th century. From that moment, John grew up in the public eye, forever marked by his father's legacy. Diana Spencer was born in 1961, almost exactly 1 year after John. She grew up in aristocratic privilege, but also experienced family trauma when her parents divorced. She became famous overnight when she married Prince Charles in 1981. Like John, Diana lived her entire adult life under constant media scrutiny, with every move documented and analyzed. Both were impossibly beautiful and photogenic. Cameras loved them. The public couldn't get enough of them. Both struggled with the pressure of living up to famous family legacies while trying to forge their own identities. Both were natural in front of cameras, but craved private lives away from constant attention. Marriage, exploring new relationships and new purposes. John had founded George magazine in 1995, attempting to create his own career legacy separate from his famous family name. He was in a serious relationship with Carolyn Bessette, though the relationship had its challenges. The first meetings. Diana and JFK Jr. moved in overlapping social circles, though they lived on different continents. Both were connected to the same world of celebrities, philanthropists, and high society figures. Their paths crossed at various charity events and social gatherings over the years. One of the earliest documented connections came through their mutual connection to the fashion world. Diana was a global fashion icon, constantly photographed in designer clothing. John was involved with the fashion industry through his magazine, George, which covered the intersection of politics, culture, and style. They both knew many of the same designers and fashion industry figures. According to various sources, Diana and John Kennedy Jr. first met in person in the early 1990s at a charitable event in New York. The meeting was brief and public, nothing more than pleasantries and introductions. But those who witnessed it later claimed there was immediate chemistry between them. They seemed to recognize something in each other, a shared understanding of what it meant to live under constant public scrutiny. The phone conversations. The more intriguing claims about Diana and JFK Jr.'s relationship involve alleged phone conversations between them. According to several sources close to both of them, Diana and John began talking on the phone regularly in the mid-1990s. These weren't brief, casual conversations. According to these sources, Diana and John would talk for hours, discussing their lives, their challenges, their hopes for the future. They could be completely honest with each other in a way they couldn't with most people. They understood the unique pressures each other faced. Simone Simmons, Diana's spiritual advisor and friend, claimed that Diana spoke about John Kennedy Jr. with great admiration. According to Simmons, Diana said that John was one of the few people who truly understood what her life was like. He knew what it meant to have your every move scrutinized, to carry the weight of public expectations, to be defined by family legacy rather than personal achievement. Friends of JFK Jr. made similar claims from his side. According to these sources, John was fascinated by Diana. He admired how she had transformed from a shy, uncertain princess into a confident, independent woman who used her fame for charitable causes. He saw parallels between her journey and his own struggles to define himself beyond his famous name. The alleged phone conversations covered everything from serious discussions about charity work and public service to lighter topics about dealing with paparazzi and maintaining privacy. According to sources, they made each other laugh. They offered each other advice. Diana supposedly encouraged John to be bold in his magazine ventures. John supposedly encouraged Diana to embrace her independence after her divorce. Diana supposedly encouraged John to be bold in his magazine ventures. John supposedly encouraged Diana to embrace her independence after her divorce. The New York meeting claim. One of the most specific claims about Diana and JFK Jr. involves an alleged private meeting in New York in 1995. According to this account, Diana arranged to meet John during one of her trips to New York. They met discreetly at a hotel, avoiding the paparazzi that typically followed both of them everywhere. The source of this claim was allegedly a hotel staff member who witnessed Diana and John together. According to this account, they spent several hours together, talking intently. The staff member described them as seeming very comfortable with each other, affectionate even, though the exact nature of their interaction wasn't clear. This claim has never been definitively verified. There are no photographs of this alleged meeting. Diana's official schedule from that period doesn't include any mention of meeting JFK Jr. The hotel staff member's account came second-hand through a tabloid report years later. Skeptics point out that such a meeting would have been nearly impossible to keep completely secret, given how closely both Diana and John were followed by media. However, believers in this story note that both Diana and John were skilled at evading paparazzi when they wanted privacy. Diana had successfully kept her relationship with Hasnat Khan secret for 2 years. John was known for using back entrances and trusted security to avoid cameras. If they wanted to meet privately, they probably could have managed it. The London invitation. Another alleged incident involves Diana supposedly inviting JFK Jr. to London in 1996. According to this claim, Diana wanted to introduce John to her world, to show him London away from the tourist spots and royal protocols. She allegedly arranged a private dinner at Kensington Palace. The source of this claim was a friend of Diana's who allegedly helped arrange the dinner. According to this source, Diana was excited about the meeting. She viewed John as someone special, someone who understood her in ways few others could. However, this claim also lacks concrete verification. There are no records of JFK Jr. visiting London in 1996, around the time of this alleged dinner. His schedule from that period doesn't show a UK trip. Additionally, John was seriously involved with Carolyn Bessette by 1996, which makes a romantic dinner with Diana seem unlikely. Skeptics suggest this story might be a conflation of different events or complete fabrication. Believers argue that John could have made a very brief, very private trip that wasn't publicly documented. Given his magazine work, he traveled frequently, and not all his trips were publicized. Began dating seriously in 1994. Got married in September 1996, and died together in July 1999. Some sources claim that Carolyn was aware of John's friendship or connection with Diana and wasn't happy about it. According to these accounts, Carolyn felt threatened by Diana. Diana was one of the most beautiful, most famous women in the world. She had a magnetic personality and natural charisma. Carolyn supposedly worried about what Diana represented to John. However, these claims about Carolyn's jealousy come from anonymous sources and tabloid reports. Carolyn's friends and family have never confirmed any such concerns. In fact, Carolyn's friends have said she was secure in her relationship with John and didn't have jealousy issues. It's also worth noting that John and Carolyn's relationship had well-documented challenges that had nothing to do with Diana. Carolyn struggled with the constant media attention that came with being John's partner. Their marriage went through difficult periods, with arguments and tensions that friends witnessed. But these problems existed independent of any alleged Diana connection. What Diana's friends say. Diana's close friends have been divided about the alleged JFK Jr. connection. Some friends claim they knew about phone conversations and a friendship between Diana and John. They describe it as two people who understood each other's unique situations and offered each other support. Rosa Monckton, one of Diana's closest friends, never publicly confirmed any romantic relationship between Diana and JFK Jr. In fact, Monckton has been clear that Diana was focused on other relationships during this period, particularly her relationship with Hasnat Khan, which was deeply serious and emotional for Diana. Paul Burrell, Diana's butler, mentioned in his books that Diana spoke admiringly of JFK Jr. According to Burrell, Diana thought John was handsome, intelligent, and impressive. But Burrell also made clear that Diana spoke admiringly about many people, and such comments didn't necessarily indicate romantic interest. Other friends of Diana's have suggested that if there was anything between Diana and JFK Jr., It was more of a what-if fantasy than an actual relationship. Diana might have been intrigued by the idea of John, attracted to the parallels between their lives, but not actively pursuing anything with him. What John's friends say. Similarly, JFK Jr.'s friends have mostly been silent or dismissive about alleged romantic connections with Diana. Those who have spoken publicly have described John as respectful and admiring of Diana, but not romantically involved with her. John's cousin, Anthony Radziwill, was one of his closest confidants. Anthony never mentioned any romantic relationship between John and Diana before his own death from cancer. John's cousin, Anthony Radziwill, was one of his closest confidants. Anthony never mentioned any romantic relationship between John and Diana before his own death from cancer in 1999. If John had been seriously involved with Diana emotionally, Anthony would likely have known and potentially shared that information with family members. Friends from John's magazine, George, also don't recall him being particularly focused on Diana or discussing her beyond normal interest in a significant public figure. John was running a demanding business and navigating a complex relationship with Carolyn. His time and emotional energy were consumed by these immediate realities. The tragic parallels. What makes the Diana JFK Jr. story so compelling to many people are the tragic parallels in their deaths. Diana died in August 1997 in a car crash in Paris. She was 36 years old. JFK Jr. died in July 1999 in a plane crash off Martha's Vineyard. He was 38 years old. Both died in vehicle crashes. Both deaths involved extensive conspiracy theories about whether they were truly accidents. Both left behind enormous public grief. The proximity of their deaths, just 2 years apart, led some people to wonder if there was a connection. Conspiracy theorists have suggested that Diana and JFK Jr. were killed because of their relationship, because of what they knew, or because of what they represented. These theories typically lack evidence, but gain traction because of the coincidental nature of their deaths and the persistent rumors about their connection. The more likely explanation is that both deaths were tragic accidents. Diana's death resulted from a drunk driver speeding through a Paris tunnel while trying to evade paparazzi. JFK Jr.'s death resulted from pilot error as he flew in difficult conditions without adequate training or experience. The timing is coincidental rather than meaningful. The evidence assessment. Looking objectively at the evidence for a romantic relationship between Diana and JFK Jr., we find confirmed facts. Diana and JFK Jr. knew each other and moved in overlapping social circles. They met at various public events over the years. Both had mutual friends and acquaintances. Both spoke admiringly of each other to friends. Unverified claims. Regular phone conversations lasting hours. Private meetings in New York or London. Romantic feelings beyond mutual admiration. Plans for a future relationship. Missing evidence.
No letters or documented communications, no direct confirmation from either Diana or John Jr., No concrete verification of specific meetings. The most likely truth is probably somewhere between complete fabrication and serious romance. Diana and JFK Jr. probably did have some connection beyond casual acquaintance. They probably did speak occasionally and felt an affinity based on their parallel life experiences. But the evidence for a deep romantic relationship is weak at best. Why the rumors persist? If the evidence is so limited, why do these rumors about Diana and JFK Jr. persist so strongly? Several factors contribute to the enduring fascination with this alleged connection. First, the idea is inherently romantic. Two beautiful, famous, beloved figures finding understanding and connection with each other appeals to our love of compelling stories. It's like a real-life fairy tale, the princess and the prince from different kingdoms finding each other. Second, both Diana and JFK Jr. died tragically young. We're left wondering what might have been. If they had lived, could they have developed a relationship? Could they have found happiness together? These unanswered questions fuel speculation. Third, both figures maintain enormous public fascination decades after their deaths. People still care deeply about Diana and about JFK Jr. Connecting them in a story adds new dimension to how we think about both of them. Fourth, the stories fill gaps in what we know about Diana's final years. After her divorce, Diana dated Hasnat Khan seriously but secretly. Then she was with Dodi Fayed briefly before her death. The idea that there was also a connection with JFK Jr. adds another layer to understanding Diana's emotional life during this period. Conclusion: did Diana and JFK Jr. have a romantic relationship? Almost certainly not, in any serious or sustained way. The evidence for such a relationship is extremely limited and comes mostly from anonymous sources and tabloid speculation. Did they have a meaningful friendship or connection? Possibly. They had compelling reasons to relate to each other based on their parallel life experiences. They might have spoken occasionally, offered each other understanding and support, and felt an affinity based on their unique circumstances. But the grand romance suggested by some sources seems to be more fantasy than reality. Diana was focused on other relationships during this period, particularly her serious relationship with Hasnat Khan. JFK Jr. was building his magazine career and navigating his relationship with Carolyn Bessette, whom he married in 1996. The Diana JFK Jr. story tells us more about our need for compelling narratives about famous people than it does about any actual relationship. We want Diana's story to include every possible dimension, every dramatic element. Adding JFK Jr. to her story makes it richer and more layered. Perhaps the most honest assessment is that Diana and JFK Jr. recognized something in each other when their paths crossed. They were two people who understood uniquely what it meant to be constantly watched, constantly analyzed, forever carrying the weight of famous legacies. That understanding might have created a connection, even if it never developed into anything more. Both Diana and JFK Jr. deserved happiness. Both struggled to find privacy and authenticity in lives lived perpetually in public view. Whether or not they found any moments of understanding with each other, both remain beloved figures whose lives ended far too soon. Disclaimer: this video explores reported connections and alleged meetings between Princess Diana and John F. Kennedy Jr.
Most claims about a romantic relationship are based on unverified sources, speculation, and circumstantial evidence. We present various accounts while acknowledging that no definitive proof of a romantic relationship exists. This content respects both Diana's and JFK Jr.'s memories, while examining the persistent rumors about their connection.